It started with a cough. Not the kind that comes from illness. No, this was deliberate. A sharp, pointed throat clear from the neatly dressed woman in heels, standing by the parking lot drop-off. The kind of sound people make when they think you've parked where you shouldn't. When they are not sure if they should say it aloud, but they want you to feel it. Derrick Cole glanced up from his phone, closed the SUV door gently, and offered a polite smile. "Can I help you?" he asked, adjusting his blazer. She ignored the question. "You probably want to move that," she said, tilting her head toward the Audi Q7 he'd just parked. "This lot is reserved for parents." "I am a parent," Derrick said calmly. There was a pause. Her eyes scanned him, top to bottom. Black man. Neatly trimmed beard. No school crest on his jacket. No visible badge. Probably a driver. Maybe security. "You're here for the Harrisons?" she tried, voice tight but sweet. Derrick almost laughed. Almost. "No. I'm here for my daughter." Another pause. Longer this time. She blinked. "Oh," she said, tone flat. "I didn't realize. Sorry." It was the kind of sorry that meant nothing. The kind that wanted the moment to pass so she could feel good about herself again. Inside the school lobby, the walls were lined with framed photos of smiling kids, golden plaques for donors, and a heavy scent of lemon floor polish. It was the kind of school where tuition had 5 digits, before the decimal point. Where the kids wore tailored uniforms and the lunch menu included quinoa, not nuggets. Derrick had been here before. He'd sat in those small, tightly packed chairs during science fairs. He'd cheered on his daughter, Malia, during spelling bees and swim meets. He'd signed the checks. Written the donation letters. But still, people didn't quite see him. Not unless he made them. 30 minutes later, in the Parent Association conference room, he sat quietly at the end of the oval table, his folder open, a pen in hand. Most of the room was already filled. Chatter floated in the air, talk of SAT prep courses, private coaches, spring travel plans. Then she walked in. The same woman from the parking lot. Her name tag read Camille Denton, Parent Board Volunteer. She smiled and began greeting others loudly, like nothing had happened. When her eyes landed on Derrick again, there was a flicker of discomfort, and then she turned to the parent beside him instead. "Didn't realize they invited drivers in now," she whispered with a half smirk. "Not quiet enough." A few parents laughed. One even nodded. Derrick didn't say a word. Not yet. Derrick's fingers lightly traced the rim of his coffee cup, now lukewarm. The meeting room smelled faintly of cinnamon muffins and tension. Parents had taken their seats in clusters, the old money types leaning toward one side, the younger tech millionaire couple sprinkled here and there, heads bowed over their phones. He was alone at the end. As usual. The head of the Parent Association, a woman named Elise McKenna, tapped her silver bracelet against the table and began speaking. Her voice was brisk, polished. "Good morning, everyone. Thanks for making time this Friday. We've got a packed agenda, but it's an exciting one, especially with our new leadership joining us." Derrick looked down at his notes. No one else looked at him. Camille Denton leaned over to whisper something to the woman beside her again. More muffled chuckles. Derrick didn't need to hear the words. He'd heard the type his whole life, when people thought you didn't belong. 20 minutes in. The budget was being discussed. Fundraisers. Endowments. Someone suggested themed galas. Then came the moment. Elise cleared her throat and smiled brightly. "Before we go any further, I'd like to formally introduce someone very important to the future of this school. Someone who's been working quietly behind the scenes for months, making a real difference." People shifted in their seats. Phones went down. He's not only a successful entrepreneur and founder of one of the top health tech companies in the region, but also a parent of one of our amazing 8th graders. He recently became our new board chair, and it's with deep pride I welcome him today. She turned and nodded directly at him. "Mr. Derrick Cole." The room froze. Camille blinked, mouth slightly open. Derrick stood slowly, buttoning his jacket, his face calm but unreadable. He didn't look at Camille. He didn't need to. "I want to thank you all," he began, voice warm but measured. "I've been part of this community for a few years now, quietly, as Elise said. Not by design, really, but more out of habit. I've learned that sometimes, Being quiet lets you see more clearly. A few heads tilted. I've seen how this school treats its children, beautifully, in many ways. The dedication of the teachers, the talent in the classrooms, the high expectations. That's why I've invested in it. Why I'm helping expand our STEM labs, upgrade the library, and launch a scholarship fund. Polite applause. But I've also seen how people treat each other, especially the ones they assume don't belong. A beat of silence. He let it hang. I was mistaken for a driver this morning. Again. Third time, actually. It's funny how that keeps happening when all I did was park in the same lot as everyone else. Camille's cheeks flushed. She looked down. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The room was so still you could hear the air vent hum. Let me be clear, I didn't come here today to shame anyone. I came because this school means something to me. Because my daughter walks these halls every day. Because kids are watching us, learning from how we look at each other, not just what we say. He paused. Looked across the room. Some parents couldn't meet his gaze. I want this school to be a place where every child, and every parent, feels seen, respected, and where leadership doesn't look like just one thing. Another pause. Thank you. He sat down. The silence lingered, awkward and deep. Then Elise clapped, and others followed. Some too loudly. Some uncertain. Some genuinely moved. Camille remained still, her fingers clasped together on the table. Later, as the meeting wrapped up, she stood and approached him. I didn't realize, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. I know, he replied gently. That's the point. Then he walked past her and out of the room, head high, heart steady. The days that followed were quieter than usual. At school pickup, some parents nodded at Derrick for the first time, hesitant, unsure if it was welcome. Others said nothing, still processing the discomfort that came with reflection. Camille was one of them. She hadn't spoken to him again, not yet. But she carried herself differently. Less performative. More aware. Derrick didn't need apologies. He hadn't gone to that meeting to prove anything, only to protect the kind of world he wanted his daughter to grow up in. One where she didn't have to explain her worth before being treated with basic respect. At home, Malia asked why he was late. He smiled, kissed the top of her head, and said simply, I had to remind some people who we are. The story reminds us that dignity isn't granted by titles, wealth, or recognition. It's a right we owe each other without proof. Sometimes the most powerful moments aren't loud confrontations but quiet corrections that leave people no choice but to see their own reflection clearly, and choose who they'll be next. If you enjoy this story, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, who knows what story we will uncover next.